Hello, boys and girls. Welcome to the Upgrade. This is Gary Muttley, as always, and I'm joined by my wonderful longtime friend and partner,
Len Carmichael, Landmine Studios. Thanks for having us on the show. Thanks for having me on the show. Thanks for everything. No, I'm thanking both of us for having us on the show.
Oh, thank me. I'm going to pat myself on the back like Barry Horowitz. How about that?
As long as you're not Iron Merc Sharp today.
No, I don't have the arm brace. We went through that.
I was thinking about getting an arm brace, but, you know.
If I'm going to do that, I'll get the cast like Bob Orton.
Yeah, that was some serious work he would put in with that cast.
This classic moves right there.
I'm just gonna get the sand out of my trunks like Mr. Fuji.
And some green mist, maybe?
Ooh, Muda.
Muda?
Actually, you know what? The Great Muda was one of my favorite villains of all wrestling. Because, like, his matches with Sting in the early 90s were something to behold.
I got to see him live.
At what point?
Last year. At
That's 30 years later, bro.
Madison Square Garden. Doesn't matter. I got to see him live. It was Madison Square Garden. Guy? Yeah.
They haven't replaced Muda with some new Muda just run around.
It's not one of those things.
Okay.
It was towards the end. They had a big battle royal. It was New Japan Pro Wrestling with Ring of Honor working together, and it was Muda facing off against Jushin Thunder Liger.
Ooh, that's a tight fight.
I almost peed my pants. It was like the two of them in the battle royal, and Muda was unannounced. Nobody knew he was going to be there.
Right.
So the music comes on, and I'm just like,
Did he spray the mist?
Yes.
Oh man, I'm a little jealous now.
Oh, it was amazing.
Because in the early 90s, there was no one. So that was right before I was driving. I didn't start driving until 93.
Yeah.
And I'm talking, I was starting to back out of wrestling at that point a little bit. So I'm talking 91, 92. Nobody was willing to drive me to go see NWA, WCW, whatever it was at that time frame. My parents might have willfully backed down and taken me to see WWF, but WCW was definitely going to be a no. Just because
which is too bad, because that was so much better.
It was so much better, but it was always in some offbeat location. It was never at the Spectrum in Philly. It was some random
because Vince McMahon had
Burn Arena or some shit.
He had to go all the good places locked up.
Right.
For corny ass Hulk Hogan.
So for me as a kid trying to go see WCW was just an absolute no. It wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to see that when I was young. And then by the time I was old enough to drive myself, I was watching UFC. So I didn't really care about fake fighting. It just didn't make sense to me anymore.
Interesting transition. Speaking of interesting transitions, now that we bored everybody with wrestling talk for a couple minutes, we are joined today by an old friend of mine, Mr. Rich Vatalaro, who we're going to talk about some music stuff, but we're also going to talk about some of the current event stuff because he's got an interesting little connection to a lot of the things that are going on right now, and we definitely want to get into that. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Gary? How you doing? What's up, Len?
What's up, Rich? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well.
So Rich and I used to play in a band together called State of Disgrace many years ago, which was a wonderful time, and unfortunately just ended, kind of fizzled out on its own. But, we had a lot of fun doing that.
It was indeed a good time.
A lot more fun than it is now. But Rich, how did you get into hardcore, first of all?
Oh, wow. It's a good question. Probably. It's a good question. Probably through skateboarding and Thrasher magazine, probably.
Okay.
there was always that. God, I can't remember what it's called, but it was towards the end of the magazine, and there was always bands in there. I would go to the local record store actually and try and find them, and sometimes I was successful. And then I would look for cool album covers.
Where'd you grow up?
A town called Blue Point out in Long Island.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was kind of always my thing. Was I would always look at records and look at the cover, and whatever was the coolest record cover, even if I had like 10 records in my hand, the one that looked the coolest was the one that was getting picked first.
Right.
Like if I only had a certain amount of money, I wasn't going to buy something with some scrub ass like cover art. Like it's just not happening, because I got to be able to look at it and be happy with my purchase. And then you get burned. People have good cover art and horrible songs, but more often than not, if a band was ponying up money to make a really good cover, there's probably something good underneath.
It's a good point. I would also look for the record label. I remember that. That's how I discovered Dag Nasty. Remember Minor Threat was on Discord. I was like, this band's on Discord too. I want this. It's been one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yeah, a lot of people did like Victory back in the day before before they went in a different direction. But Victory Records is a big one, and like being a metal guy like Combat and In Effect and all that stuff.
I feel like I got screwed with Revelation Records, because they have some amazing records, and then they have some records on there that I'm not going to mention any names because I don't feel like ruffling any feathers, but there are some records that people that love the records, and I don't understand why. Like I've listened to pretty much the entire old back catalog, and there are probably like 15 records on there that people just blow wads in their shorts about, and I'm like, I don't get it. It's fucking terrible. And
there were a few weird ones.
There were definitely a few duds in there. You had some real classics.
Now, Rich, how'd you end up playing guitar? Those might be two completely separate tracks.
Not really. I mean, my friend Pete wanted to be in a band, and he gave me his bass. He said, I remember, just go up and down that one string, and just kind of mutated into the guitar. He taught me how to hold my two fingers in the power chord position, and taught me a good portion of Ramones Mania that way. And that was about it.
I mean, honestly, that's all you really need.
That's all I ever learned.
Same here. Everything else is improvisation.
Yeah.
It's just I made a wrong note, but it sounded cool, so let's stick with it.
Yeah. You start with that, and then the mistakes, and it's like, I fucked that up, but hey, that sounded kind of cool.
So what I'm going to say is that of all the conversations we've had with people that have ended up playing bass, you're the first person that's actually gone the other way, where you started on bass and ended up at guitar.
Yeah, I don't know. I always wanted to be the guitar player in the band, I think
everybody does.
Van Halen, maybe. I don't know.
Everybody does. That's how I ended up with bass, because it's like, everybody wants to play guitar. We need a bass player.
Yeah, the bass is always the coolest instrument, though, and one of the most important, right?
Well, yeah,
everything down.
Also easier to play when drunk.
Yeah.
So.
Just slide your finger up and down that one string.
Yeah, exactly.
Guys, I'm telling you got to learn how to think about the drop D, and you play everything with one finger. It's perfect.
So were you playing in a lot of bands growing up, or just fucking around with friends, or?
Yeah, just goofing around with friends, and the entire time I was in college, I don't think I was in any band, and I was in some silly high school band. Later on, I was in a band. It was kind of like it's like a punk band, maybe like the Lawrence Arms or something. I don't know if you ever heard that, but it was that was pretty good. We did a little bit of stuff. But
you guys actually played out?
Yeah, we did. We played out quite a bit, actually.
Oh, that's cool.
That band, I think, put out I'm going to say 2 or 3 records. I only played on one, but definitely at least 2 7-inches.
Bro, and what you're saying is you put the one you played on was the good one.
Yeah, that's the only one that was any good. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I got you.
Always. Yeah.
Picking up exactly what you're putting down.
You got that.
Now, how did you end up playing with them?
My friend Joe, Joe Pa, Joe's wife.
Okay, yeah.
He was the drummer, right? Came down to band practice because they needed a bass player, and so I played bass in there for a little while.
Oh, okay.
Then they replaced me with someone good.
I've actually only pulled off playing bass in one band as like the actual permanent bass player. I've filled in for a bunch of bands on bass because it's easy, quick to learn. That one string is key. It's tantamount to getting through the whole damn thing. But I was playing bass for a band called Batter Up for a number of years when I was kind of stationed in North Jersey as like my main base of playing. And, some guys that I've been friends with for years they had a band going, but nobody was playing bass. Like the singer was also tracking all the bass, and then they're like, "We need a bass player." They made like some post on MySpace, like way back, and I was like, "Yo, why didn't you just ask me?" They're like, "Well, you play guitar. We didn't think you'd want to do it." I was like, "I'll fuck around and play some bass. It's fine." And like I actually miss doing it. Like it's fun to not have to be so like nobody notices if you miss a note, like unless it's the part where you're by yourself.
You're right, like you were in Jane's Addiction or something.
Right.
Yo, don't let out all my secrets, man. Slow down.
I saw all your secrets.
People are gonna know my deal now. It's not good.
Distortion pedal.
So from that band, where did you end up from there? Because I know there was a path before State of Disgrace.
Yeah, I was in another band. I think the only other one that I really played around with was a band called Ripe to Suffer. That was I don't know. That was like a hardcore type band too, kind of melodic.
Yeah.
But we didn't really do much of anything, as a matter of fact. I don't even know if we did record something, but I wouldn't know. It was on a 4-track, I think.
I just actually threw my old 4-track out. Like within the last 6 months, I threw it away because I was like, I'm never going to use this.
Oh, the old days.
Some Tascam piece of trash.
I was going to say, it's either a Fostax or a Tascam. One of those.
Well, I was holding on to it because I thought like maybe I would fix it because one of the tracks just was like kind of wonky, and I was like, I'll go in and I'll like tinker around and fix it. And it's been sitting there for 14, 15 years at this point. And I was like, I'm not touching this thing. I just threw it in the trash. Like, why am I wasting my time with this?
I mean, cassettes are making a comeback. Maybe those things will make a comeback too. You never know.
Thank you. No, thank you. I was actually talking about that the other day with my mom, how I've seen all the different forms come through, and it's just interesting.
Yeah.
To like go from 8-track to cassette to CD to digital to streaming, and in the meantime, cassettes and records have come back in that same time frame too. And I'm like, can we just get back to CDs being the thing? Because I got like 3,000-4,000 of them that I would like to get some money for.
I'm still waiting for the 8-tracks to come back.
With my dad.
Wait till they start putting those in cars again.
Yeah.
My first, I cannot tell a lie. My first car that my dad gave me was a 69 Le Mans, and it did have an 8-track player in it.
Awesome.
So I had no 8-tracks for it because, I mean, it was legitimately like early 90s, and, finding a working 8-track at that point was, you might as well have been looking for Bitcoin in the wild.
I still have a handful of old 8-tracks.
I should have called you.
I have I definitely have like some sort of Star Wars soundtrack, and I have, oddly enough, I have Point of Entry by Judas Priest on 8-track.
That's not a bad one to have.
I got it in like some flea market or something when I was a kid down on vacation in Florida.
I was figuring you were going to say like you had some random copy of like Bee Gees Night Fever or some nonsense like that you just stumbled on for no goddamn reason at all, and you just kept it because it was a novelty item.
Nah, not that stuff.
I think we had the Close Encounters soundtrack at my house. I think my parents had.
Nice.
It's probably pretty good.
That's a good selection.
It was a great movie.
So you ended up playing.
I don't think I saw that movie. I don't think I've ever seen that movie.
You never saw that movie?
No.
Oh, man.
That's a classic.
It's well worth watching.
I mean, I'm not opposed to watching it. I don't think I ever watched it because it's not ringing any bells other than the name.
It hit an anniversary, so I saw it a couple of years ago in a theater.
Really?
They had like a special showing of it, and it was so cool to see it on screen again.
Yeah, must have been some gigantic mashed potato sculpture, huh?
Oh man. So Rich, you had another band called Jets Jaguar for a little bit with my old friend Anthony from my old band Distance.
That's right.
And I know you guys played out a bit. I don't know how much you guys really did.
Yeah, I don't know. I know we played out a lot. That was a fun band to play in too. That was a good, solid drinking experience.
Wasn't Steve O'Brien in that band too?
Yeah, Steve O'Brien was in that band. Absolutely.
From Crown of Thorns.
He was actually the guy who replaced me in that other band I was just talking about, VM Collision. They kicked me out, and they got Steve because he could play bass real good.
They kicked you out? What kind of bullshit is this?
That's what I always thought too. Bullshit.
This guy plays on 2 strings.
He used 2 strings. To be quite honest, man, that guy could play the bass like nobody's business, man. He's a good bass player.
Oh, he's fantastic.
Yeah. He's got a new band now, too.
Really?
Yeah. He's out in California. It's slipping my mind right now, the name of it. But I'd heard it's really good. I wouldn't be surprised if it was really good.
I'll have to look into that. Because I know he's done some good stuff over the years.
Yeah, I mean, the guy could write a song.
And then how did you end up doing State of Disgrace?
I either answered an ad that Mike had put up, or I had put up an ad, and Mike answered that on Craigslist.
Okay.
And it was that simple, really. We hooked up one night somewhere in, I don't know, I want to say it was some studio up in Yonkers that I can't remember the name of. And it just kind of gelled right away. Mm-hmm.
I have never been able to find a band anyone to jam with on Craigslist. I've attempted, and I've answered some stuff, and like people are like, yeah, you should come hang out and do it. And then I always had like the heebie-jeebies about going to meet people I never like met before, and I just never follow through. Like it just, I don't know. Like it's never felt right by the conversation to follow through. Like buying things off of Craigslist, I'm like the king of that. Like I'll buy damn near anything because my requirement for interaction is very low.
Yeah,
like show up, hand you money, and I leave. But if I'm gonna go and like play music with you, I need to get the warm and fuzzies right, like before I even show up.
Yeah, it's funny. We had spoken a few times, and I had sent him a couple songs that I had recorded into my Dell DJ, if you guys remember what those things are.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I actually don't know what that is.
It was like it was a ghetto version of the iPod.
Okay.
And my dad swore it was better, so that was the one I had to have. Just like when I was a kid, he bought me ColecoVision instead of Atari. Just wanted Atari, man.
You know what? My friend had ColecoVision, and I was jealous as shit because there were a couple games on ColecoVision that were actually better than what you could get on Atari, especially the Atari 2600. They had like the better Atari where all the games were on it, and they crossed over with the ColecoVision games. So don't feel like you got run over. You actually got a decent system. It just wasn't what everybody else had, so it might have felt weird.
Yeah, I did. I had Turbo. That was a fun car racing game. I could kick everybody's ass in Smart. That was really good. Played Mousetrap. Yeah.
Well, that was how I felt when my mom bought me Sega instead of Nintendo. Like, I was like, nobody has fucking Sega. Like, nobody wants a Sega Master System. This is dumb. And like, I absolutely hated it because all my friends would come by and they'd be making fun of me because I had like all these bullshit ass games. And they were playing Super Mario, and I was like, all I want to do is play Super Mario, but I guess Sega was like $30 less, so that's what I got.
Could be worse. You could have had a Turbo Graphics instead.
Yo, I really wanted Turbo Graphics, to be honest. Yeah, because they had one fighting game that nobody else had. I can't remember which one it was off the top of my head, but I know, and I'm not a video game guy now, but I know that I wanted Turbo Graphics back in the day. I'd have to go back and look it up right now, but
I didn't know
one it is.
I didn't know anybody with a Turbo Graphics.
Well, neither did I, but I wanted one.
Man, nobody cared. Nobody was interested.
Or a Neo Geo.
Oh, the Neo Geo was like
extremely expensive.
Yeah, like $500 or more.
Something
and the
like
games were like 2 each.
Yeah, crazy.
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Some video game stuff.
More video game nerd shit.
Yeah.
And I'm not even video game nerd because like I haven't owned a video game system since Super Nintendo. I legitimately haven't owned one since then. So, that's like 92.
Yeah, I had a Game Boy. Used to like that. Play Tetris all summer long.
I mean, I love Tetris. Like Tetris is like one of those games where I can never get enough of playing that game. If you put it in front of me right now, I'll play the damn thing.
Yeah, exactly. That's the problem with Tetris.
It's highly addictive.
It is. I enjoyed it.
And talking about Craigslist, like, you know, I've experienced some real horror stories with musicians off of Craigslist.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Because I remember at one point, actually, Walter and I were going to start a band with Anthony from Distance, and Walter and I tried out a couple of drummers, and like we had this one dude that was in a band that was supposedly signed to like Hollywood Records at one point, I forget, and like the dude could not play like a basic like fast D beat. He's trying, and he just can't do it. And Walter and I are just looking at each other like, how do we get this dude the fuck out of here right now?
You're like, I'm done with you already. You've been here 5 minutes. Go home.
Oh, my God. We were just looking at each other just like, how do we even handle this fool?
Yeah, that's my fear going into these situations where like I would be going to somebody else's practice space and it'd be like unpacking my stuff. 3 minutes into play and I'm like, all right, got to pack my shit and go because this isn't going to work for me. I would know immediately, and I wouldn't like be able to smile and wink and nod through it just to get through like the hour or two to make it out of there. Like I would just be like, all right, I guess this isn't working. I'm out of here.
Yeah, that's the thing, because it's like in the first 15 minutes, you know, so like you book 2 hours, it's like, shit, how are we going to get through this?
Yeah, I got real lucky with those guys, man. I met Mike. Mike was fun. I mean, he's so easy to get along with. Danny was great. Jimmy was great, you know, and then Rich Fi was there, so
nice.
It was a pretty solid group.
Well, yeah, that's all good people there.
Exactly.
And it's crazy because you look at them like, you know, Danny is doing his thing in Florida now.
Yeah.
Danny, who was the drummer, Len, he is now a reporter down in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is kind of cool. Like
for like a newspaper or TV?
I forget what, I think it's a newspaper because he was with one newspaper and then like he just recently switched over to a different paper, I think it is.
Yeah.
And like
stay within the month, right?
What's that?
Probably within the past month or so.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, very recently. But like you're seeing him doing like reports on like the newspaper's Facebook page about like shit from Disney World and whatnot. Like, we're going to Disney World to see Galaxy's Edge, and I'm like, oh shit! look at, check out Danny doing his thing.
Danny of all people, right?
You know? Yeah,
he was funny.
So funny.
You know what? I love seeing my friends and people I've been connected to in the past do well. Like, there's this overwhelming feeling that a lot of people like to see people fail, but I am not that guy. Like, if my friends are doing good, I want to see them do even better, and I want them to help me do better. Like, if you're doing good, then hopefully I'll be doing good too. Like, there's no reason for me to be hating on somebody doing well.
See, I also like seeing dudes that I know, and especially dudes that I know from music, doing well with other stuff, just because it's cool to see.
Yeah.
Like,
absolutely.
it's one, like, we all know each other as musicians, but like, because Mike, the singer from State of Disgrace, he's a principal at a school up in Westchester now.
Yeah.
He was a teacher. This band had 2 teachers. And then that's funny. You guys met on Craigslist, and you were both teachers, and just random, just like that, huh?
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely a little strange when you would sit there and, you wouldn't be talking about hardcore music. You'd be talking about homework.
Yeah, I mean, that's
great.
Yeah, that's crazy. And then Jimmy, the other guitar player,
Yeah.
he was a cameraman for Maury Povich.
Oh, wow.
So it's just, everybody's doing well in all these crazy directions. And then a couple of guys left. I joined, and Joe Pa joined, and then we were just a 4-piece for a while.
Yeah.
Rolling with the 2 teachers again.
Right.
And then
faded into something totally different. I wasn't even in the band anymore. Jeff.
What are you talking about?
When was this? Like,
Jeez.
when were you guys doing this band?
You got a year on that? Like 2010?
Oh no, it was earlier than that. Like mid 2000s. Like I was still doing Billy Club, and then I was filling in for State of Disgrace, and then it just kind of like I was the fill-in, but not really the fill-in, because we just kept going.
Just kept going.
Eventually, it just kind of stopped.
We had wrote together. What was the name of that studio in Long Island City where we would practice?
Roxy.
Yes. We had 2 songs in there that we had written that never got recorded that I wish we had recorded. They were good, man. They were really good.
Yeah, I like that's coming back to me now. Like shit, I forgot that we even had that.
Yeah.
'Cause I knew I retracked that one song that we were going to do the video for. I redid the bass tracks on that.
Yep. Yeah, I remember that.
And yeah, with Don Fury out in Coney, when he was out in Coney.
Yep.
But then we never did the video, and then eventually everything just kind of fizzled out.
Yeah, it did. It just kind of disappeared, right?
I mean, it just, like me and Joe were like the fill-in guys. Even though we were along for the ride, we were chilling, but like it wasn't really our band. And then it seemed like you and Mike just kind of decided like, we're kind of done. And I don't think, like, Mike still did stuff after that, but I don't think you did anything musically after that, did you?
No, Mike, no, I definitely didn't do anything after that. Mike did All Is One, didn't he?
Right, yeah, and I helped him out with that. Like, I was, I played bass on, like, their first demo.
Oh, nice.
And then, like, I actually kind of produced it because I was there, and then all of a sudden it was just all out of whack, and I was like, like I stepped in and kind of took charge and was like, all right, you do this, you do this, you do this, and then all of a sudden I'm the fucking producer instead of just being, the guy doing the bass tracks.
Right.
And then I was kind of managing them for a while, and then that kind of fell apart. And,
all right.
Well, they still did their thing for a while, and eventually they kind of fizzled out also.
And where did everybody go after that? I know Jimmy's in a band now.
Jimmy is in a band called Examine, who just recorded with Glenn from Billy Club. And who else was in the band? Who else was there? There was a dude named Chris that played guitar, and he and I kind of didn't see eye to eye on a lot of shit, which is part of why I end up not managing them anymore.
Okay.
And I don't know what his deal is. I haven't had any contact with him since. And then, Danny was playing drums.
Right.
And then they had a couple of different people playing bass. Like, I played a few shows with them, but then they they had at least 2 different permanent bass players that, well, obviously not permanent if they were eventually out. But yeah, they had a couple of guys. One of them was a good friend of mine, Scotty. And then that kind of fizzled out also. And I think part of it was that, I don't want to speak for Mike, but it seemed like he wasn't all that excited about doing it anymore.
Oh, okay. All right.
And again, like, I guess people weren't getting along also, like, and I kind of had, I was managing them, and then things got bad, and then I kind of had a falling out with them for a little while, and then, most of us are cool.
All right.
But,
most of us.
Well, I mean, like I said, that dude Chris and I never really saw eye to eye, and like, I didn't have anything against them, but like, when you don't see eye to eye with somebody, it's kind of hard to manage them. You know what I mean?
All right.
Like, you got to be teams got to be on the same page. So like, obviously we weren't on the same page, and I was like, you know what, I'm out. Like, you guys just do your thing, But then eventually the whole thing kind of fizzled out anyway.
Right.
Like what happens with a lot of bands, it seemed like they, certain people weren't getting along great, and certain people lost interest. And I think Mike lost interest because he never really did anything after that musically. Like,
right.
he concentrated, he was a teacher, but then he concentrated on school because he was doing the whole principal thing.
Right.
And then he was an assistant principal, and then he became a principal.
I mean, that's a lot of work just to do that. Like, I can't even imagine being at that level of, I've never taught anything. Like, I can barely teach myself how to cook things, but regardless, like, I can't imagine being a teacher and then transferring to, like, kind of being a principal or vice principal, etc. Like, the amount of pressure that's on you to do.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And there was a lot of pressure.
I give him props because I know he worked hard at it and worked his way up, and bounced around and worked his way up in a few different schools. So good for him.
And, Mike really cared about it, too. He cared about the craft. He cared about kids. He really did care about teaching and education.
Yeah. Yeah. So, and even when it came to the music, like, he always enjoyed doing that. But I think it just got to the point, that he kind of had to go one way or the other and dedicate more time to it. So
right.
I think he made the right choice.
Yeah. Seems to have worked out well for him.
Yeah, it's definitely worked out good for him.
Principal up in what, Westchester?
Yeah, he was an assistant principal at one school, and then he took a principal job at a different school.
In Terrytown, I think, right?
He was in Terrytown. Now I think he's on the other side of Westchester. He's up like in Rye or something.
Oh, wow.
Somewhere up there on the east side of Westchester.
Must have gotten his license.
Yeah, he did. And listen, good for him. I know he works his ass off. You know how it is with a lot of us. Like, we don't talk for a long time, and then suddenly we pick up right where we left off. So, like, and I know he does the same thing with you, Rich. It's like he'll text me out of nowhere. He'll text me about some wrestling shit or something, and then, like, we'll have this long conversation, and then we won't talk again for a little while. It's like, everybody gets busy and, like, has their own thing going on, but, we touch base every now and again, and it's all love.
Yeah, I never had a bad word to say about him.
No, not at all. He's great dude.
And I love the way he used to sing, man.
Yeah.
And then he looked like Scotty.
Yeah, Len, I'd have to show you. People used to give him shit because, didn't you guys have a shirt that had him on it?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, there was a shirt.
People would say that it was Scotty.
Well, I think we used to bust his balls like, yo, is that Scotty Ian on that shirt?
Yeah.
And be like, yo, come on.
Yeah.
We just fuck with him all the time.
That's right. I remember that shirt now. That's right.
Well, I remember, he used to wear it, or one of you guys used to wear it, and we'd be at practice and like, yo, that's a nice Scotty Ian shirt. Mike would be like, yo, come on, man.
Give me a break.
Poor Mike.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen, we're a bunch of ball busters, so. But if you could take it, then you're good.
Yeah, middle-aged punk rock guys making fun of each other. It's not bad.
I mean, it could be way worse.
Well, so there's another transition for you. You are a teacher.
I am.
And one of the reasons why I wanted to get you on here, besides just talking about history and all this fun stuff, is because we talk a lot about current events and all the mess that's going on with COVID and all this bullshit. And one of the things we've talked about a lot, and I want to get a teacher's perspective on it, is this whole idea of COVID and where the numbers are and opening schools again, which to us seems like a total goddamn mess.
Yeah.
So what's your take on it? Well, first of all, let's go back a little bit. How was it for you as a teacher doing all this remote stuff when this first started happening?
In all honesty, Motley, it really wasn't. It was a weird transition because you had to bring the kids onto the computers, and that was a little bit awkward because not everybody had everything they needed.
Right.
But the actual teaching from home wasn't that bad at all. I mean, to be honest, I liked it.
Really?
Yeah, and I think that a lot of the kids liked it because they got to turn in work when they wanted to. I mean, it might sound silly, but, deadlines all of a sudden, they weren't hard and fast,
Right.
Kid who works better at 12 in the afternoon turned his work in at 1 in the afternoon, My son, for instance, that's the way he did his work. And my other son, he woke up at the crack of dawn and did his, Yeah. 2 different kids.
So everybody's kind of working on their own schedule.
There was a lot of that, yeah.
Yeah.
It wasn't always easy to get mass groups of kids on at the same time.
Right.
That's where the learning curve was, I think, for most teachers and students. I would say doing what everyone likes to refer to as like live teaching. Mm-hmm. That was probably the hardest part. Once everybody started to figure it out and do it well, the school year kind of was starting to wind down.
Right. Yeah, because it didn't. I mean, schools closed in like March, so it was only a couple months and everything just started to wind down anyway.
Yeah.
So what subjects do you teach?
I teach social studies to 7th and 8th graders. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. This will make the history books.
Yeah, there is no way that this does not go into a history book somewhere. I know, I'm long away from being in high school, but I remember 7th and 8th grade, especially history, or like learning history around that time. Yeah. It was interesting to me, interesting enough that it's made me research history more as an adult, because I felt like the stuff that I learned, I only learned like a quarter of what I should have learned. Mm-hmm. And that is not to say that teachers aren't doing what they're supposed to do, but more that the curriculum isn't in place for kids to actually like really dig in. It's like all the high level stuff. Like, hey, here's the gloss.
Yeah. I have I don't know. I can't disagree with you. I think that you're right. I think that we need to give the kids some meat, so to speak, something to kind of dig into there. I think that some of the higher level things that they are working on are there, but I think that it really differs from school to school. I don't think it's uniform across the board in any way.
It definitely does differ from school to school, because just my friends that have kids, like everybody's experience is kind of different.
Yeah.
Well, I went to a Catholic school for 7th and 8th grade.
Okay.
And then when I went back to public school in 10th grade, pretty much everything I learned in 7th and 8th grade in Catholic school was pretty much all the same stuff I had learned in like 5th and 6th grade in public school. So I had already known it. Like, there was definitely a disconnect as you bounce around, even in the same towns, by school district and by who is telling them what needs to be learned when.
Yeah, a lot of that is actually up to the teacher too, which is pretty interesting.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I mean, the curriculum is the curriculum. New York State has one that you, for the most part, follow. Mm-hmm. But the teacher is the one who creates the lesson. So I know I've been guilty of using, say, a Howard Zinn source on more than one occasion. And, kids are getting some lefty history for sure,
Hey, I'm fine with it.
Me too. Not a problem.
Nothing wrong with giving them the actual truth.
No, like the left. The left is good.
I mean, when it comes to this whole reopening thing, I mean, I know the teachers union has started to speak up on it a little bit, which I expected. But, I mean, what's your feelings on this whole thing?
Well, just to start real quick, both the teachers union and the principals union seem to both be against starting school. And I would agree with them both. I really don't think it's a wise idea to start just yet.
Well, we just saw I saw the news article. Gary sent it to me earlier today that the kids in North Carolina, UNC, like 130 of them came down with COVID in the past week or two. And it's like, these are late teens, early 20s kids who should know better and should have a very firm grip on how to utilize a mask.
Right.
Little kids?
Forget it. Well, first of all, let me point out that UNC thing, classes only opened a week ago.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Which is just like, come on. But, I'll refer back to what I said on Facebook that I know Rich loved, which is, these booger flicking kids. It's like the Florida Marlins couldn't keep it together with their whole big plan, but these booger flicking, spitball shooting kids, they're going to be totally safe.
Kids have their hands. They don't understand, keep your hand out of your eye, keep your hand out of your nose, out of your mouth. And they're going to touch everything. There's you would need to have every child have their own personal bubble.
Pretty much, which is why we probably shouldn't be starting school.
Right.
I mean, I'm surprised we haven't gotten to that point where, everybody's in a bubble.
Yeah, it's coming, man.
God, I hope not. The masks are difficult enough. I don't need a bubble.
I hate the mask. It's annoying. It's irritating for me mainly because I will drive 90% of the way to where I'm going and go, fuck, my mask, and I have to drive home, get the mask, and come back because it's not in my mind as a thing that I need yet until I'm all right, thinking about what I'm going to buy. It's not second nature yet. It's still a thought.
I just keep a ton of them in my car, and that way I can always walk right back to it. But,
understandable.
I don't know. I got to say, I honestly don't mind the mask that much. It's kind of irritating, I guess, but I don't know.
Wearing glasses is the problem. Every time I breathe out,
that's true.
It's like they fog up.
They fog up, right? Absolutely. Yeah, it's annoying.
That's the worst part of it for me.
Yeah, it's frustrating.
I don't like the mask, but you know what? Do it. But listen, lately I haven't really gone very far anyway, so whatever. I don't care.
Right.
Yeah. Don't take my displeasure with the mask as a fight against it. It's a necessary object in this current situation. I'm gonna wear it. I'll gleefully wear it if it means we can get through this quicker.
No matter what certain people say.
Yeah.
What certain people is that, Mudley?
I don't know, but one of them might be orange.
Oh, that guy? I've heard it.
That guy.
It's all right. We can all just drink bleach. We'll be fine.
I got my bleach cocktail right here.
Exactly. It's going to be great. You, me, and the dead milkman.
Yeah, I mean, that'll be good for now until I can figure out how to shine this light into my body.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that one.
What the fuck?
Maybe we could just, clean it.
Oh, God, it's really hard to believe.
Yeah.
I hope the feds are going to pay for my wall in here because thanks to them, I just keep banging my head through the fucking wall.
I mean, seriously, honestly, this is really what it's come down to for me as to why I've lost track of time and I'm scheduling myself badly, is that at no point in my life, or even you guys' lives, have you been kind of relegated to your house for so long, and every day just blends into the next day, and there is no start or stop. Like, even with work, like, I'll find myself opening my work laptop on like a Saturday because it's just like, I'm like, oh, I'm down here at my desk, and that's just what I do when I'm here now. It's not like when I was going to work, it was a break from the monotony of being at my house. So you go to work, you do the work, and then you come home, and then you're home and you're not thinking about work. My desk at home now is my workstation, and it's like, it's hard to turn it off.
Yeah, it was really hard to turn it off when school was on. You know, we get messages all day, all night from students, man.
Right.
Wild.
And that's a good question. So because you're now like connected to these students digitally, do they have some expectation that at like 2 a.m, when they're up, when they're not supposed to be up? I mean,
right.
7th and 8th graders, they're like right at the edge of like, fuck you, parents, I'm going to stay up all night anyway. So
they are, yeah.
So like the whole 2 a.m. email is not out of the realm of possibility. It's not like you're working with like a third grader who should definitely be in bed at 2 a.m.
Right.
So were you getting those emails, and how did you handle like kids thinking that you should be available at any fucking time because they were struggling?
I mean, oftentimes I would write back. I did once get one at, I think it was about 3 o'clock in the morning. That one I wrote back later on,
Wrote back, go to bed.
Right, exactly. Does your mom know you're still up? Honestly, I would communicate with them pretty much whenever they wrote, I would write back. So if it was 11 o'clock and, I heard I have like a app on my phone, and, I would write back. It'd be 11 o'clock, I mean, sometimes it would be later, sometimes it'd be 9 o'clock. Who knows, but
right.
Usually pretty darn instant, I don't know if they had an actual expectation that you would write back, but they certainly didn't shy away from writing you.
Okay. Yeah, because like, I know that for me, I'm not working with kids specifically, but I work for a company that services high school aged children in education setting. Right. And when we have a team of people that are dedicated to answering emails, even if it's 4 a.m. Like, right. If it's 4 a.m, our service level requires that they get an answer within 90 minutes, basically. Wow. So, like, it doesn't matter what time the email comes in, somebody needs to field this and get it back to them as quickly as possible. And I feel like the blending of work hours and personal hours has become non-existent. And for teachers who already don't get paid enough,
thank you.
The idea that you are now on 24/7, or at least on call 24/7 during the school year, is a bit different than it was when you were teaching, and maybe you might get a phone call or two in the year, like an oh shit call from a parent.
Yeah, it was, I mean, I don't think I'd say it was constant, but I mean, there was messages every day at all
random times,
for sure. Yeah. And, I don't know how to put it. I mean, I think because of the circumstances, it wasn't that big of a deal. You just kind of did it. This coming school year, I don't know what that's going to look like. That might be different. I don't know. Are you going to have specific hours that you talk to people on the phone or something like that? I really don't know. But, I mean, me personally, I really don't mind. I mean, they're little kids. You know, they need help. Right. What are you going to do, not help them? You know?
Nah, I'm not suggesting you don't help them by any stretch, but I'm just like, the boundaries have changed.
They have. And I actually think that's a really important point. I don't really think that that's bad. We just have to find out how we're going to deal with it. What does the role of the teacher look like now? Mm-hmm. It seems like it's an entirely different thing, you know? And I wasn't, by the way, implying that was a problem. I find it, you know, I find a lot of people saying, you know, hey, we need to go back, we need to get back to normal. And I'm not always so sure that that's the case. I don't see, I mean, I see issues with this, of course, but I found myself able to interact with students in a totally different way, probably more meaningful way. You
feel like it was better off, if the kids were better off?
I think some students were better off, for sure. Definitely. And others, I really do think, some probably got lost a bit, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, because not every kid is the same, so like no two kids learn exactly the same.
Exactly. That's absolutely correct.
I could say, just from my own experience and seeing what happened, not just with my kids, but with my friends' kids, there are some kids, like my kids, that are good with the technology. Mm-hmm. Like, they'd be sitting there on an iPad anyway, long before any of this stuff happened, and like, you know, they were showing me how to do shit on my phone that I didn't even know.
Right, exactly.
You know, and I'm not, you know, I'm a technology guy. It's not like I have no idea how to operate my phone, but they know all these little tricks that like I didn't know, and I'm like, holy shit. Yeah. You know, so, but then there are other kids that have issues with the technology. And then I also find that a lot of kids have issues with just the lack of structure.
Yes.
They're at home, so there's a lot of distractions. So I know, you know, some friends of mine that their kids definitely wrestle with that a lot. But
yeah, that was definitely something that happened for sure.
Yeah, but it seems like every situation is different. You know, all these kids all react to it different ways, and I get what you're saying, and it's interesting to look at it that way. That it's like now it's redefining boundaries when it comes to how teachers and students interact.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
it's interesting to see it that way.
He's completely right about the whole issue with time and things like that. There is that boundary has been, I mean, it's really, for a while there, it was non-existent, or at the very least, it's been really, really blurred. There's no doubt about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're older, so it was a whole different world for us when we were at that age.
Yeah, I mean, if this had happened in the late 80s, early 90s, when I was in high school / like junior high, if we couldn't go to school, there would have just been no fucking school.
Right.
Like, I can't imagine how this would have played out even 20 years ago, before like people really had high-speed internet in their house. Like,
oh no,
you're not doing this shit on dial-up.
It wouldn't play out at all. But that goes not just for the school stuff, but that goes for us with the work stuff too. Yeah. I mean, it would have been a wrap. Yeah, we'd be stuck. Like, how, I don't know how it would even operate. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
But looking at it this way with the technology and everything, it's like, it's a whole new ball game. Like, and I think, you know, there's a lot to it, and I understand. You know, Len, you and I have talked about this before. The whole reason why they're pushing to open the schools is because of this whole reopen the economy thing.
Yep.
And I like to say that we're going to the volcano and throwing the children in to appease the money gods, because that's really what it is. Like, we're going to get all these kids sick. We're already getting, look at the UNC thing. We're already getting all these kids sick.
There's the high school in Georgia that had like 800 kids that were sick for, you know, no reason other than the fact that the schools decided that they needed. Well, the government decided that the schools needed to be open,
right?
Instead of just doing this virtually.
Because the only way that people can go back to work.
That's what I was going with. That's where I was headed. Is that parents can't go back to work, especially when the kids they have at home are not of teenage years. Like,
right.
You say to me, hey, you got a 7th, 8th, 9th grader, and you got to leave them home. Like, that's not the end of the world. They can figure it out, and when you get home, you crack the whip and make sure they do the work. But you can't leave like a kindergartner home alone. Like, that's just not possible. So there's like, if people can't go back to work because the kids have to be at home, and you can't send the kids to like a daycare because it's just as bad as sending them to a school. Right. So then who is going to take care of the children? So then, like, it becomes as you said, open the economy so that, you know, these people can go back to work and these kids go to school, because it's basically daycare.
Right, which is essentially what the mayor had said when he was attempting not to shut down the schools earlier on. If you remember, he said something along the lines of, the kids have to go somewhere and they need to eat. So he essentially said, my job was to make sure you're there so parents can go do whatever it is the parents need to do, which of course was work, and that we fed them. You know, I don't know exactly how I felt about that.
I mean, I feel like they're just lining up our teachers, and I'm going to say our teachers, I mean across the entire U.S., for a death sentence. Not all of you are going to die, but there are a certain amount of people who are already immunocompromised who may meet their fate by going into a classroom and catching it from some child that didn't even know they had it.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And I want to say thank you, first off, for thinking about us, because I really don't think a lot of people have. And I appreciate that a lot more than you could imagine.
I have family that are teachers. Like, it's not necessarily come up in discussion, but it's always on the mind. Like, I don't think that anybody should be forced to pick between potential death.
Right.
Or joblessness.
Right.
Like, it's bullshit.
But that's happening, and it's happening. You know, it's happening with teachers, but it's happening with everybody else too, because they're trying to force this thing where they want these states. You know, Trump is pushing these states to open up, because if they open up, then okay, your job is open. If you don't want to go because you don't feel safe and you feel like you're going to get sick, tough shit, then you can't get unemployment. Yep,
because you abandoned your job.
Right. So it's all a fucked up setup, because it's just, you know, and it's crazy because with teachers, there's a high risk, because a lot of times these kids don't show symptoms as much.
Right.
But, you know, remember, you know, Trump is still saying, oh, well, these kids, they might get a sniffle. That's it. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Exactly. That's just stupid.
You know?
And we don't know what the long-term effects of them having this are. Like, maybe they're not showing like major symptoms now, but it's a slow creep, and maybe, you know, 10 years from now they can't fucking breathe because you know, it acts like from watching Maury, mesothelioma. You see those commercials, and the people have like this thing where they can't fucking breathe because of exposure to something many years ago. Maybe that's what's going to happen to the kids. Like, they're not showing it now, but maybe later. We don't know. We don't know what the long-term effects are going to be.
And it's crazy, because you got some people that are just trying to hide it and just trying to blow over it like Trump. But, you know, teachers are at risk, and so are family members. It's like, yeah, these kids come home and bring the shit home, and, you know, they're staying with grandma, and suddenly grandma is going to get sick.
Yeah. Yep. And, you know, there's a lot more than just teachers in the schools, which is, I think, something that a lot of people lose sight of. I mean, there's custodians, there's nurses, there's food service workers.
Yep.
Exactly. I mean, especially the food service workers. I mean, they work far harder than anyone could ever imagine. And they're not radically well paid. So you got to think, in a school, the person who sees those kids the most is the food service workers. You know, they might see them only for an hour a day, but they see every child in that school.
Right.
They're exposed to something.
And when you're trying to eat, you don't have a mask on.
That's a very good point.
Exactly.
So that room is full of potential germs.
Sure is. Jeez.
Yeah, but everybody seems to want to gloss over this stuff, because everybody's just worried about the economy, and it's just crazy to me. It's like, everything is to appease the money gods. It's like, how many people do we have dying a day?
100.
But here we are. We'll just keep moving forward. Everything's, and you still got Trump saying, "Oh, well, the numbers are going down." It's like, no, they're not.
No, he's wrong.
And
all he does is lie. All he does is lie.
Clearly. And we're doing great. Like, no, you're not. Like, what the fuck planet is this guy on? But
he is in a different fucking world. That's for sure.
But it's not even just that. It's that he's surrounded by these bootlicker motherfuckers that are just like, yeah, exactly. Like,
it's painful.
Insane.
It is painful.
It's crazy to me. And it's just like, how many people are we going to send into the volcano, like I said, before people wise up? Like, we're still fighting people over masks and shit.
Right.
Like, okay, I don't like wearing a fucking mask, but I'll do it because that's what needs to be done. Yep. But, like, we got people screaming at each other in a fucking supermarket because they don't, not only do they not want to wear a mask, they think you're an asshole for wearing a mask.
Yeah.
It's like,
and then I'm the one going to jail for punching somebody in the mouth over a stupid mask. Like,
right.
No.
It's just, it's so insane what's going on all over this country now.
It's because Americans do not care about anything other than themselves. As long as they're happy, that's all that matters. And it's embarrassing.
Yeah, it certainly is embarrassing. You're absolutely right.
And what cracks me up,
shameful.
What cracks me up is that I feel, and it's not just exclusive to New York, but I use this as an example just because it's where I am. It's like, are we the only ones with the fucking sense? You know what I mean? Like, you see, and some of the other big cities, it's like Trump sits there talking shit about these Democratic-run states and this and that, but they were the ones doing the shit right from the jump. Am I wrong?
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're
so
not
it's
wrong.
like, here he is shitting on it, but meanwhile, we were doing it right. And I've said a million times, I'm not a fan of Cuomo. I've had my issues with Cuomo over the years, but the way he handled this thing has been, you can't say perfect, but the way he's handled it has been pretty damn good.
A lot of people do feel that way.
Like, I feel like between New Jersey, some of PA, and New York, specifically New York City, if we had the information that we really needed to have in February and early March, our numbers would have never been that high. But everybody was going on bullshit, fake information from the orange turd and just believing it, so nobody was taking it as serious. And as soon as everybody started to take it more seriously, our numbers dropped, because I do think that Northeasterners as a whole have more compassion for each other, especially when you're jammed into city settings. because you know you have to look out for the person next to you, because it's just like cockroaches. If you got cockroaches, they got cockroaches.
Yeah.
I had cockroaches. Nasty fucking things.
Me too. But you know what I mean? It's like, do you want ants? Because this is how you get ants.
Yep, exactly. But this is what's also crazy. It's like, I feel like, and just in the general political climate, it's like you got a lot of the big cities, and those are the people with sense. And then when you get away from the big cities, it's like, it's totally different.
Yep.
It's like, these are people that have never seen a black person before except on TV.
And they hate black people.
They've never seen a gay person before except on TV.
And they hate gay people.
Exactly. Because you hate what you don't know. It's like, go step out of your fucking barn and go live a little bit, and maybe you'll have a different perspective on things. You know, maybe when you see Mexicans, and when you see other ethnicities and other
let's be clear.
Of people.
Even Puerto Ricans are Mexican when you get to the middle of the country. Like, everybody is a Mexican. It doesn't matter where you're from. You could be from Peru and you're a Mexican.
What was that one? It was one of those restaurant fights, and it was like an old lady saying, "Is he speaking Mexican?" And finally the guy's like, "I'm Puerto Rican, you idiot."
Exactly. That's what I'm talking about.
Exactly.
No awareness whatsoever.
None. But that's exactly what I'm talking about. It's like, you get out of the big cities, and it's like, just dipshits. It's like it's like another planet. It's like another species.
Middle America, Taco Bell is not Spanish food. Please meet some Spanish people and have some actual food. Maybe it'll change your mind.
Oh my God.
Shit talking on bean burritos from Taco Bell? Oh, coming on.
Hey. I will still eat at Taco Bell, but let's agree that it's not actual. It's like American. Oh. It's American food posing as Mexican food.
I mean, in all fairness, they might think that Olive Garden is authentic Italian food as well.
Wait, that's not authentic Italian food. What, you don't nuke your Italian food in a plastic bag? Is that how you do it at home?
Oh my God! This is what I'm talking about. It's just, you get away from the city, and it's like the intelligence level just drops.
It just falls.
And it's like, I don't want to shit on those people, but it's just like, you look, those are the ones that are just like, you wearing a mask?
Fuck you.
Were you some kind of lefty?
Yeah.
Can you go back to Olive Garden for 1 minute?
Just Christ. Olive Garden, yes.
Yeah, all right. So there was a time, I remember, at least at the Olive Garden by my house when I was young, and my parents took me there once or twice because it was easy, like, endless salad and breadsticks out the ass.
Breadsticks, yep.
But they used to actually make their own pasta there. At least they didn't make the dough necessarily, but they put the dough through the machine so it looked like they were making their own pasta. And it was like right in the front, like, foyer when you walk in, like, there's the desk where you check in to get your seat, and then right next to it's the pasta making, because like they wanted to make it look like they were really making Italian food there.
That shit was just for show.
It was totally for show.
Totally for show. But they were keeping up
with what was necessary at the time.
Still real to them, damn it.
But again, I live in, Rich, I live near Trenton, New Jersey. So I'm right in the middle between Philadelphia and New York City. Like, there is nothing other than just this straight corridor right past my area. So while I might live near farmland, it's not like I'm in the sticks. I don't live like in Pennsylvania. I live like just in the plain old suburbs. It's not that bad. So there's an Italian place on every third corner. Like, there's pretty much anything you can imagine here and available to me. So while I may not be living in the city, I'm not living in a fucking desert.
Yeah, I'm not living in the city anymore either. I live in a little town out on Long Island.
Okay. So
I'm very much in the suburbs.
Right. Same situation, but you're not far from things.
No, definitely not. I mean, I've got, I don't know, I would think 4 or 5 pizza places within, 2-mile stretch.
Yeah, you just throw something, you'll hit a pizza place. Something.
Yeah, basically. And they're good.
So I'm lucky, though, because there's like that, and then I have convenience stores on like every fourth corner. So there's like small little basically bodegas that would be one if I was in the city, and then there's also like 7-Eleven and Wawa, etc.
Right.
Like, I got the best of both worlds out here. It's not too bad, but I can't imagine living out in, we'll call it Iowa, and like there's like one black person in the entire town, and the Italian joint doesn't even have one Italian working in it.
Right. Kind of funny.
And pizza has like American cheese on it. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. This isn't funny. Serious business.
No, this is serious business.
I'm laughing just because it's so absurd.
No, people fuck with food. I'll never understand how people can do that. It's not
and
right.
Then, like somebody Italian rolls in and opens a pizza place, and they get looked at because the pizza doesn't. It tastes. It actually tastes good, but they're like, "What is this? This isn't Domino's.
This ain't like Domino's.
This isn't Domino's.
Can you make it a little more like Papa John's?
Oh God.
Oh, please.
That guy.
God, this is so horrible to even say out loud. Jeez.
All right, I've shit on them enough.
Oh my God. It's just so crazy. It's like, it really is like two Americas.
Jesus land and the United States of Canada. That's pretty much what it is.
Yeah. United States of Canada.
I'm ready. Pull me in.
I'm ready too. Let's just go. I'm ready. Just go. What the hell?
All over it, but it's really chilly. Rather.
No, I'm talking about extending the line of Canada down to Maryland. So then everything of Maryland and above on the eastern seaboard goes to Canada. We don't have to move to Canada.
Virginia.
We're just moving the line.
Okay.
No Virginia included.
Virginia should be there. Virginia's good. Some of it.
Like the area around DC is okay.
And we have to keep Richmond.
Okay, so we'll cut Virginia in half.
Yeah. Richmond rules. What's going on down there right now? They are they're fucking things up, man. And we should be proud of how crazy they're getting down there, knocking down statues and shit, and really telling people to go fuck their racist asses for real. I like it.
I really support them fully in their efforts.
Yeah. I mean, the more shit that they do down there, the better off everybody will be.
I support it, but like I said on here before, all the shit with the statues is one thing, but like it means nothing without actual education. Like we gotta teach these kids like why that stuff is going and why it's fucked up, and because just tearing down a statue to me is an empty gesture if you don't put the education behind it.
Right. I understand what you mean. In other words, tell people why you're doing something like this.
Right. Well, it's the same thing like the way people post about shit on Facebook or whatever. It's like, yeah, that's cool, but like, are you actually teaching your kids about shit, or are you just sharing memes around?
Yeah, there's far too much meme sharing.
Yeah, like, and the memes are cool, don't get me wrong, because the Trump administration has been fucking jackpot with the memes.
Yeah.
They've been giving us content for years.
Yeah, they could have, actually.
But when it comes to, all these statues and renaming things and this and that, it's like, it's one thing to tear down a statue or rename things. It's another thing to actually say to the kids, like, this is why it's bad. Not just tearing shit down. It's like, there's a reason why this is all happening.
I would think that, in homes, that probably does happen to a good extent. I mean, I know it happens in my house.
I don't think it happens enough.
Yeah, maybe it doesn't.
Just in general, I think some people see it as just, whatever, or like maybe they don't fully understand it themselves. Because I know from my own experience with my kids and with the other kids that they go to school with, I see a lot of parents that just don't really give a shit.
Okay.
And maybe, your experience as a teacher might be different, but I have other friends who are teachers who have kind of had the same problem. I had an ex-girlfriend that used to be a teacher and quit because they wanted to just pass all these kids, and like these kids weren't doing well, and it was a lot of it was because the parents just didn't care.
Okay.
It's an ongoing problem, but like I said, every situation is different, but I think, and I've said it before, I'm not on some, it takes a village bullshit, but we
need to care. The parents need to be involved.
Yeah, the parents need to care, because if it's not the parents, who is it going to be? Like, we can all only do so much. But like with my own kids, I've tried to teach them about certain things, and like, why is Donald Trump bad? It's like, no, he's not just bad because he colors himself orange. He's bad because of this and this and this, and I can give you a list 10 pages long, double-sided, but
college rules.
Yeah, exactly. But that's my point. It's like, we can make some of these empty gestures, or we can do that with the reinforcement of actual education and say, this is why.
It's that's an interesting point, because I feel like it brings up a certain age thing. I feel like people wouldn't be tearing these things down if they weren't aware of the horrible things, say, that the people who the statue was of had done. So, in that sense, I would imagine that they had been educated about the topic. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, the problem with the tearing shit down, and this is a problem that happens with every one of these quote-unquote movements, not that I'm shitting on any of them, but we saw it with Occupy Wall Street. We've seen it over the years with these different movements, that you got some people that know the history behind it, and then you've got some of them that are just like, oh yeah, let's go break some shit. You know what I mean?
Right. Okay.
And
I do know what you mean.
Yeah, that's the problem, because some of them are just down to go and fucking wreck shit. And some of them, and honestly, some of those people, it's like you got to weed those people out a little bit.
But I'm going to argue against your argument for just 1 second.
What's that?
Mostly the people that are pushing for the removal would never go in and actually tear it down themselves. You sometimes need those fuck everything up people involved to get the dirty work done.
You see, now, if I can jump in, I'm going to say I absolutely agree with that. There's got to be somebody on the ground with a hammer bashing shit, so somebody else can turn around and say that type of thing eloquently somewhere.
Right.
Oh, no.
You need a little bit of both.
Yeah.
That's true, but you don't want, you don't want somebody that's just doing it just for fun. They don't have to be, they don't have to be knowledgeable front to back on everything, but you got to know that they're doing it not just because, like, oh, hey, it's cool to go break some shit and spray paint shit.
So,
Well,
all right.
if it's that brainless, that's just foolish.
Yeah,
Right. That's what I'm talking about.
Well, that's just foolish. I mean, that's just being destructive because it's fun to break windows. I mean, all right, got it. But, if they're out there breaking stuff and then thinking, you know what, I'm fighting a man or something like that, I got to say, that's probably a help to, what I'm going to refer to as the cause right now.
Yeah.
Hey, think about it like hockey. So you've got your eloquent players, and then you got your enforcers, and they know what the reason is that they're out there enforcing, and they just have to go out and do the job.
Right.
And that, like, some of these people that are out there climbing statues and tearing them down are literally, like, they're maybe they're not as informed as the people who are pushing the movement, but they're informed enough to know why they're doing it.
That's what I'm talking about.
So imagine that in the 60s or late 50s, 60s, when the original civil rights movement was going on, if we did not have both Dr. King and Malcolm X, and then as well the Black Panther Party towards the end, and Stokely Carmichael and Medgar Evers, etc. If we didn't have multiple angles and different ideologies going on at the same time, we have actually gotten the job done as fast. I think you need a little bit of the good and a little bit of the power. Otherwise, nothing gets done.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with tearing the shit down. It's just you're going to get some guys that are just down just to fuck around. And then, you add the whole other thing of like, mysterious bricks popping up and people looting that don't seem to be part of the cause, but they were paid to be there, all this other weird shit. There's so many different ways to look at it.
Of course.
But in the end, the bottom line, like I said, is there's got to be more to it than just the destruction. We got to use that as a point to build more and educate people and tell them, listen, this is why this is happening. This is why these things need to happen.
And that's why something like this podcast or a bunch of other podcasts or any other mediums out there that people can use are so important. That's what you're doing right now. You're helping educate people.
I fear for them if they're getting their education from me.
Come on. Think about all the things you said already today that people may not know about. I mean, it's true. It's good.
Well, that's why we wanted you on here, Rich, because we want to get that other perspective, from you being on the front lines with the school situation. It's like, I just, the whole thing is just so crazy to me. And knowing you're a teacher, you were one of the first people that I thought of. It's like, I want to hear what you have to say about it. So,
I mean, regarding COVID, that type of thing, I don't think that we should go back at all. I think it's going to wind up being an outright disaster for everybody involved in schools. And, I mean, beyond, to be quite honest, the extended families of some of these poor kids is just going to be terrible.
Yeah.
Like, my dad is 85, and within the last year, he just got over a case of TB, so he's already respiratorily compromised. If for some reason I bring COVID to his house, he's done.
Right.
Like, he is not getting through that.
You're absolutely right, which is why I would like to think that they're going to be smart enough to just not open schools.
Well, all right, so I'll tell you that New Jersey, the governor changed his mind recently and said that he would support all the schools going virtual at least for the first 6 months of school or something like that till like January, basically.
Okay.
and then reassess as we get closer. But he's leaving it up to each school system to decide what they're going to do. And I'll tell you that my town has let us know that they're going to make their decision on August 24th. Nothing like waiting to the 24th hour to decide what you're going to do. I mean, literally, it's 2 weeks from the time that school's supposed to start. Now, they've said that anyone second grade and up is getting a laptop. So if there are kids that are in kindergarten and first grade, what are they going to do? Like, what is the expectation there if those kids have to go virtual? Like, you're not going to provide them with a laptop. You know, there are kids that are in, not necessarily in poverty, but in a situation where they may not be able to afford to get a laptop. Maybe they don't even have high-speed internet at home. Most people do, but I'm going to say that there are still some people out there that do not have it, and they subsist on the data on their telephone to do anything on the internet at this point. And
absolutely right.
How is that going to work? Like, I don't understand how at least this town can be so flagrantly behind in their decision making, and then as well not have a plan for basically 2 full grades worth of kids.
Well, the other thing that I'll say, the elephant in the room when it comes to this, is the fact that a lot of these guys are going to cut it down to the wire, because you've got this orange asshole threatening to cut funding for some of these schools that don't want to open.
Right.
So it's not even as simple as just the school opens or doesn't open. It's that, they're being threatened with losing funding. So, of course, they're nervous about it, because most of these schools and districts are underfunded anyway. So it's like they're in danger of losing a tremendous amount of money, which they shouldn't even be worried about. But you got this dumb fuck just threatening these people, and it's just too much. It's like, I just don't understand why it has to be like this. But yeah, so that's a real threat for a lot of these schools and a lot of these school districts. It's just, once again, we're back to this whole thing of sacrificing everybody to the money gods.
Yeah.
So, because there's Trump loud and clear. Well, if the schools don't want to open, then we'll cut their funding. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. Gary's 110% right. That's exactly what he said. It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous.
It just doesn't make any sense. It's counterproductive, really. But, it's counterproductive because you're talking about money, but then you're not just talking about money. It's like you're talking about money versus death.
Right.
Yeah, but he doesn't care about the death. He's already basically just flat out said, I don't care about people dying.
He's made that very clear, which is just, even more mind-boggling. But, here he is busy talking about voters for Trump. It's like, motherfucker, read the room.
Yeah, he has no ability to do that.
No, but the room is on fire. Look around.
Can we just talk for a second about this voter registration / mail issue that we're having right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because, I mean, just for myself, I order random stuff off the internet, like for my studio or whatever. And, I'm expecting to stop using USPS at this point and focus only on using FedEx or UPS, because I can't guarantee that anything is going to show up with any regularity. I have a part on order from China since April, and it's just sitting in quarantine, and they will not release it. And it wasn't like some ridiculous amount of money. It's about $40. It's not like breaking the bank here, but I would like the thing that I ordered, and I can't get it, and it's just sitting there. And like between that, the way that he's defunded the post office in general, changed out management, it's like, bro, I know what you're doing. I have no control. I can't change this, but I'm not fucking stupid. Like, I don't understand how anybody hasn't stepped up and like truly stopped him from this nonsense.
But that goes back to what I was saying before about the bootlickers that surround him, because everybody's just like, yes, sir, Mr. Trump. Yes, sir, Mr. Trump.
Yep.
And it's just nobody is coming out against any of this shit. They're sitting there trying to remove mailboxes, and they're trying to, take out sorting machines, and they cut all the overtime. And I don't know how much you know about the U.S. postal system, but they've been fucked for a long time because they're the only ones that have to pay their pensions in advance.
75 years in advance, I heard. Man.
Yeah. So like that's where they bury a lot of their money problems in the federal government. That's been the punching bag of federal budgets for years and years, because I've always heard about it going back at least 10 years. So now it's just even more extreme. But the other part of it too, and it happens with education, and it's happening with the post office, is that Trump just takes these big money donors that don't know jack shit
about them into a position,
that subject, and just jams them into that position.
Yep.
Because once again, the funny meme about this one that runs the that's the Secretary of Education.
Yeah.
That there was the picture of her doing the online thing, and how funny is it that she has no books on the bookshelf behind her?
Yep.
And now with the post office, it's the same thing. He puts Postmaster General in there, who's another big money donor, doesn't know jack shit about the postal system. And, here we go again, but now it's just another fucking train wreck. And, but who's stopping any of this stuff?
Well, it's a huge issue, man. But, like, we're sitting back and we're watching democracy be destroyed. You're literally watching it happen. We watch it on the news every day. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And very few people are out there doing anything about it. It's terrifying. I'm as guilty as anybody else.
I don't think I have anything I can personally do short of doing this show. I got zero power. Nobody's going to listen to me personally. But I'll get on here and talk about it. I'll talk about it every day if you want. I don't care. And hopefully somebody will tune in. But what I got to say is, you would think that a guy who has a mail order bride would have a little more respect for the post office.
He's also good at mail-in voting.
Seriously.
Bride, mail-in voting. I like it.
Well, did you see the thing today, Rich, that I forget what state it was. The Republicans started sending out the mail-in ballots.
Oh, yeah.
And they got Trump's face on them.
No.
It's like they have a picture of fucking Donald Trump on them. It's like, are you kidding me?
Wow.
Like, this dude is just so self-obsessed. Just like the stimulus checks had to have his signature on them.
Yep.
Like, he's got to have his face on this thing. It's like, God damn it, man. Like, how insane is this dude?
He's out of his mind.
He is.
People just sit there at his feet and then they kiss his ass. I'll never understand it.
And
as you said earlier, bend the knee.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it's going to be. But, here's another thing to point out, because, okay, we've been shitting a lot on the Republicans, but it goes both ways, because, look, all this stuff happened with them trying to pass another stimulus thing, and then both sides of Congress, Democrats and Republicans, decided, oh, well, we can't work it out. We're going to go on vacation. So,
yeah, we're out of here.
But now, not only did they do that, but now they're going to go and pull themselves back in because of this post office thing. You got a whole bunch of people that are out of work, can't pay their rent, this and that. They're like, nah, fuck those people. But, the post office, well, we got to go back right now. Like, motherfucker, you should have been in that room saying, we're not leaving until we work this deal out.
Day and fucking night.
No, but that's what I'm talking about. It's like, it just shows you it's not just a Republican thing, although they deserve a lot of heat for shining this dude's shoes and just kissing his ass.
Right.
And letting him do whatever because there's no resistance. Even
they're beyond shining that dude's shoes, though. They're fucking deep-throating his fucking boot.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Kamala Harris, he starts this birther bullshit.
Yeah.
CNN contacts every member of the Senate, I think, or the House. One they contacted a whole group of people, Democrats and Republicans, trying to get them to denounce that statement, and not one of them respond. Or no, I think it was one of them responded to CNN. That's it. So like, they're not even backing up their own people.
That's insane.
But this is what I'm talking about. It's like, it's not even just a Democrat or Republican thing.
Wait, you're saying Democrats were going along with that?
They didn't say anything against it.
Yeah,
Which to me, it's like, if you're not
silence is compliance.
Yeah, if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the fucking problem. You know what I mean?
You're from California?
Yep.
It's just, but this is what I mean. It's not just a party thing. All these people are all fucked. Like they all are in on the shit.
We've talked about it a few times. I do not like Kamala Harris as a choice, but I am going to plug my nose and vote for him. We'll vote for Biden and her as well. And part of that is because as a black man, I don't really have the option of just throwing away my vote on a third party because they're not united in any way to put together a ticket that would be worthy of anything. And with the Electoral College, it would be virtually impossible for them to win anyway.
Right.
Secondarily, a vote for Trump is basically a death sentence for me. So I have no other options. I will be voting for Biden despite my trepidation in doing so.
Yeah. And I feel the same way because, as I've said a million times before on here, he's the less dangerous choice.
The less dangerous choice, yes.
Which is terrible. It's terrible to have to look at it that way.
Yep.
And they don't even give a shit because their whole thing is, well, we'll do whatever we need to do to get Trump out. It's like, you know what? You should be more worried about doing what you can do to serve the American people. Like, the whole goal shouldn't be to get Trump out. The whole goal should be we can do better.
Yep. They could have put together a ticket. I mean, they had 4 years to do it. They could have put together a ticket that would make me go, I don't mind voting for this at all. I don't have any major holdout involved in my thinking in going in there and pulling this fucking ticket. Like, I'm going to go in there and I'm going to hate myself, but I'm going to fucking do it.
Because you feel you have no choice.
I don't have any choice.
Yeah, I understand.
There really isn't a choice because with the way you look at how everything is just escalating more and more, is Biden a great choice? No. But, and I'm angry with the Democrats because, like, this is the best you can give us.
Right.
Give me a fucking break.
This is the best they could do.
And it's funny because you know what? And not that they would ever do it because a lot of these party people are all bootlickers too. But it's funny how right now, you got the Democratic convention happening and, it's all virtual. And it's funny because what if they were actually all in a room together and people started booing? Like, what if people finally were fed up and were like, you know what? This is not an acceptable choice for us.
Right.
Which is what people should be doing. And by the way, just because I just pulled it up, CNN, Don Lemon had his producers reach out to all 53 Republican senators that, it was only Republicans. I thought it was Republicans and Democrats. But they reached out to all 53 of Harris's GOP colleagues in the Senate for comment, and only one of them responded.
So fucking crazy.
Like that's
It's
fucking, that's
insane.
shameful.
I don't know how. I don't understand what the hell people see in this man, and why these guys follow him around the way they do. Or you keep using the term bootlicker. I just don't understand.
No, because they just enable all his behavior. But it's not just them. Even the regular citizens, like so many of them, are just all in on this dude, and I don't get it.
Do you think that in any way some billionaire could represent you in a million years? Is that even freaking possible?
No, but,
fucking creeper.
But
how is that even possible?
But that's the problem with all of these, all these politicians, because all of these politicians pretty much are billionaires.
Well, that's a huge issue.
When they get to that level, even Bernie, who, I mean, the closest I've come to supporting anybody, I supported Bernie.
Yeah.
And even he's a billionaire.
Bernie's a billionaire?
I think so.
Huh. Interesting.
Is he actually? I think he's just millions.
Billions.
He's only got billions.
Yeah, I know. Either way.
Chump change.
Yeah.
Just like
Either
me.
way, he's certainly not living a lifestyle like we are.
No.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean?
In which case, I don't know how the hell anybody would think that these people could represent us adequately. I feel like it's almost impossible.
But that's always been the problem, and there's no easy solution because, as I pointed out before, we are so far away. If you look at history, we are so far away from what this country was founded on. There's no way to go back, because this whole country was founded on the idea of, like, a regular citizen comes in, does their time in the government, and then goes back to their regular life. Like, it wasn't about career politicians.
Okay.
So it became career politicians, and now because of that, you had the lobbying, you had everything else, and all these people are all, that's why government is all in with corporations now.
Right.
Democratic or Republican, doesn't matter.
So
how do you reform it?
I just did some Googling while you were rambling on about the things that we like to ramble on about. And in 2016, Bernie was worth between $500,000 and $700,000. And now, as of March 2020, he's worth just under $2 million. So,
Far from a billion, but
far from a billion. Still living a lot better than I'll ever live.
Yep.
Do I think that Bernie had our best interest in mind and would still continue to have them in mind? Yes, absolutely. Do I still think he flipped and rolled over and let them just pat his belly and just go away? I also think that is the truth, too. I think it's a little bit of bullshit, and, it's like fighting City Hall. There's a point where you can't fight City Hall any further, and you're going to lose. So he decided to take the money and run. And you know what? I probably would do the same fucking thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I have issues with the guy just because I think twice he could have really changed the entire political landscape in this country.
Okay, so how about this for an argument? If we hadn't had Obama for 8 years and Bernie had run in, we'll call it, what would have been Obama's second term, and ran as an independent then, and then the next time when he really had the groundswell, I think he could have actually done something. But he's too old now. We lost 8 years where he would have been a viable candidate.
Right.
And now he lost again for the second time in a row. At the point that this is going to come up again in 4 years, he's way too old to be running. It's not going to work out.
Yeah.
So, he had to make his decision. Am I going to remain in this Senate? Am I going to remain relevant at all and push for my things from the inside, or am I going to go out on my shield? I mean, I'm kind of a go out on my shield guy, but I understand why he decided to do what he did. I don't necessarily agree with it, but I can't fault him either.
I just think he could have done more and could have made things very different, but in the end he didn't, so whatever.
Yep.
Yeah,
Hey.
I think some of that's on us because, we didn't speak loud enough on his behalf, I mean,
I don't
we
think
didn't
that
rally behind him maybe the way we should have.
I don't think there could have been more of a groundswell behind Bernie that would have made any difference when it comes down to the Clintons in general. So the time that he was really ripe was not necessarily this time, but the time previous. And, you know, if Hillary Clinton was remotely smart, she would have fucking sucked it up and made him VP.
Yeah,
if she had made him VP, if he had rolled over and said, "Fine, you can run with this, and I'll be your VP," and he was still in that like bigger position of power than he was, he would have brought all his people along. Some people might have turned their nose up, but not enough. She would have won that hand over fist, and we wouldn't be sitting in this fucking position. So I blame her, and I blame the DNC.
I would definitely go with the blaming the DNC thing. I think you're absolutely right. And, you know, I've never actually thought about that regarding Hillary before. It's a totally new perspective. Never thought about that, believe it or not.
Well, I've always said, I've been very open about the fact that I think Hillary is a big reason why Trump is in.
Yeah.
You know, the way that whole election went.
Well,
she acted like it was hers.
She acted like her shit didn't stink at all.
Yeah. And it was just not, you know, that whole thing of what happened with Bernie. Bernie had a lot of younger voters behind him, and once
still has those voters.
Once they screwed him, you know, that was it. And he should have said, screw you, and tried to run as an independent, because at that point he had so much groundswell behind him that
it would have made it interesting.
That maybe would he have won? Probably not. But I think it would have done a lot to sway this idea of third party throws away your vote. And I think that would have set it up for an interesting turn this time around.
I think there are a number of people that voted for Trump that would have voted for Bernie because they just didn't want to vote for Clinton. That was their thing. Like, they're, you know, he's not her, so I'm going to vote for her. If Bernie had ran as a third party, he would have had his groundswell of people and some of the fancy people that, you know, voted one way because they didn't want to vote the other.
For Clinton, in other words.
Right. So I feel like it could have almost been close to a 30-30-30 split at the end of the day if he had actually just gone ahead and run as an independent, which would have made it really fucking interesting.
Well, yeah, because that 30-30-30 split would have been a real strong showing for an independent.
Yep.
Then it would have really legitimized him. Exactly. Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about, because everybody has this idea going back many, many years that, voting for third party, you're just throwing away your vote. And right. if you had shown that it wouldn't be throwing away your vote, that it actually has a strong chance of making a change, then you come to this election, then if nothing else, the Democrats might pick a little more wisely.
Yep.
You know, as opposed to just throwing Joe up there.
Right.
They probably would have thought a little more, because they would have seen it as a legitimate threat. Even if it wasn't, Bernie's old, but you know what? What if there was another person that had a strong backing that could have had a strong turn as an independent also?
Yep.
You know what I mean? They would have benefited from what Bernie did. But
I'm calling it right now.
Okay, I see.
I'm calling it right now. AOC will be of presidential age in the next election. She will turn 35 in October of that year. So as of November, when we actually vote, she will be eligible to be president, and I guarantee you she runs. Whether she wins or she loses, I guarantee you she runs.
I would not be surprised, but I also think that even if she doesn't win, she'd still be a strong contender for VP.
For sure. Because she brings all the young people along with her.
Does she?
Think so.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Especially Hispanic and black children. When I say children, I'm talking voting age children, because they're half my age at this point.
Right.
Well, because but that age thing is a big part of the problem, because you got all these guys running that are much older.
They're not connected to the streets
and don't connect. But that shows you just how lucky they were with Bernie Sanders, because he's older, but he still made that connection.
Right. He cared about you could tell he genuinely cared about the people.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So why why wouldn't you take advantage of that? And that's where the stupidity lies with the Democratic Party.
Yeah. They definitely chose poorly this time.
No, they chose poorly both times. Although, as much as I hate to say it, because I despise Hillary, Joe is
a better choice.
Joe is an even worse pick.
Yep.
Because Hillary at least can form a complete sentence. That isn't sniffing anybody's hair.
God.
Argument's sake, apples to apples and oranges to oranges. If Hillary had won, I don't think we'd be in the middle of this pandemic the way that we are.
That's true.
So
I would agree with you. I would.
Like, for what it's worth, I think she would have handled a number of things that the orange bastard has handled horribly in a much better way.
Certainly.
Regardless of how I feel about her personally, as an actual governing body, or the work that she would have done a much better job at this.
Yeah.
So I regret her not winning at this point, just in hindsight.
I think it was her own doing.
Yeah, I mean, she did it to herself, for sure.
It's a shame. She should have handled it better.
So,
and the whole party should have handled it better. But what are you going to do? So, just to wrap up here, I have said this before, and I'm curious what you think about this, Rich. Approaching it from a history and social studies perspective, I don't think we're going to know the full extent of the damage from the Trump presidency until many years from now. Even if he gets voted out in November, I don't think we're going to know just how much damage has been done, not even just in this country, but also with international relations. All these things that Trump has backed out of, like the World Health Organization and these different treaties and stuff like that. Right. I think it's going to be years before we really see just how much damage has been done. You agree with me?
I wouldn't disagree with you. No, I don't think we have any idea how much damage has really been done. I do think this, though. I do think that if we do manage to get rid of this fucking maniac, I do think that a lot of people are going to turn around and say, whoa, hey, all right, America, that was a really bad 4 years, but welcome back. We're Europe. Welcome back. We are Africa. Welcome back. We are America, and America can fall back into that world fold again. I do believe that will happen.
See, I agree with that, but I also think there's going to be a decent amount of people who feel the other way.
Worldwide, you mean?
No, definitely within.
Okay.
Not worldwide, because, let's face it, they've got a lot more sense than we do.
Yeah.
But I definitely think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to say, they wish for the old days of Trump, which is ridiculous, but
yeah, well, that's crazy. I mean, I got a message
when things were great again,
and they can go get fucked. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, who likes this guy? I mean, he's a maniac. He's a maniac.
That's the craziest part to me, because who likes this guy? Clearly, a lot of people do, and they may not have any sense at all, but they exist. And as I've said before, we could vote him out, but we're still going to be stuck with all those people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to be driving around with their Trump stickers on their car. They're going to stick out.
Yep.
You know what? Maybe it's good that they stick out.
Oh man, I told Muttley earlier this week, or maybe it was last week, that I took a drive to North Jersey and visited a friend, and like as I'm driving through North Jersey, it's just Trump stand and Trump like banners and flags and etc. all over these people's yards, and I'm just like, I just want to drive along with a fucking flamethrower just right out my window. These people wandering around and teaching their children that this shit is right
is
scary.
It is.
Like, and it's going to go on and go on and go on. Like, the longer you continue to teach bullshit, the longer it persists.
That's the scariest part, by far.
I'm just saying that we need to get rid of the thought process behind the bullshit that is persisting in our society. Like, sure, I'm not going to get along with every single person on the planet. Like, we already know that that's not going to happen. But that doesn't mean I need to hate every single person on the planet either.
Right.
Yeah. What are you supposed to say? Yeah. You're not supposed to hate other people. It's not the right thing to do.
Right. And I feel like sometimes when I'm out, I just feel like a target.
Okay.
And it's like, you know, it's painful to like try to exist in that, and I don't feel like I should have to.
Well, no, you shouldn't have to. You shouldn't.
But if you ask some people, they would think that I should.
It is crazy, and it's just
that's insanity.
It is.
But this is, you know,
where we're at right now.
It's regression, and like I said before, I can't totally blame Trump for it, although he's really stepped it up. But like, you heard a lot of this stuff even when Obama was president, all the racist shit.
Right.
You know, and it's now Trump just makes them feel more comfortable because he's one of them.
Well, that's the type of shit that should really scare the hell out of people, is that they feel like it's okay to say these things.
Oh, yeah.
What hell, that it's even okay to feel that way about things. I don't even have words to describe it.
I mean, we can't control the feelings, but, you know, the feeling we can control is to at least make them afraid to leave their house with a fucking swastika mask on.
Yes.
You know?
Yes.
I mean, Jesus Christ. Are you fucking kidding me?
Yeah, maybe the key word there is afraid, Gary. Maybe the key word there is afraid.
But that's the thing. They used to be afraid. And, Rich, you know, from hardcore, look at how many, you know, before you and I started going to shows, they beat the Nazis out.
Right.
And then anytime a Nazi would pop up, what happened?
You beat right out.
Yeah,
out.
They get the 1-2 and the boot in the ass, and they're gone. You know? And now, you know, looking at everywhere else, it's like, it's these guys feel safe to come out that way.
They really do. I don't understand. Guys, I don't know what to say. I mean, you know, even in their most basic talks, you know, just the way they speak is disrespectful. It's not half the time. It's not even just what they say. I don't know. I mean, I'm starting to be a little bit too inarticulate there, but there is just there's a way about them. It's just, I don't know. They throw around their bullshit like they can, you know, because it's like they think they're better than you or something. I don't know. I'm sorry. I can't articulate it right. They're just disgusting animals and need to be taken care of. How about that? Does that work better?
Sounds about right.
I'm with you.
Sounds about right. Well,
clearly, I'm with you.
I'll throw out one more question, and then if you guys have anything else to say as far as you know on any of this before we wrap things up, do you guys think, talking about how these people feel bold doing this type of shit, do you think the internet has anything to do with that?
Oh yeah. Because
You mean like the hiding behind the keyboard type of thing?
Well, I
got
think that's
two angles on this.
Well, go ahead.
I got
want
two
to hear
angles
what
on
you
this.
have to say.
Number one, the anonymity of being behind the computer screen allows you to say any old thing that comes to your mind, and you're most likely not going to get slapped in the mouth about it. Number two, before the internet, you could really only communicate with like maybe your neighbor and two other friends you had that had these dumbass views. But instead, now you're able to connect a lot more dots a lot easier. So then you can put together a network of stupidity and continue to spread your lies and talk shit on people, and then go into 4 and 8chan and like make these groups up and find the other random idiots who have 2 brain cells that don't even smack together at any point, and have like this camaraderie that you think is going to help you survive in the world, and really what it's only setting you up to do is get snuffed out at some point.
Yeah. What do you think, Rich?
About snuffing these people out? I'm okay. You edited out my stupid part, and then you just put that in there. Rich just snuffed them all out because they're dumb fucks. That's what they are.
I think, just like you said, Len, the anonymity of it, that these guys can go and just talk all kinds of shit online and nothing happens to them. I think that safety now has just evolved, and now they just feel untouchable when they step out of the house too.
Yep.
And I think that's a big part of the problem.
They don't think that there's at any point that they're going to have to deal with the things that they've said.
Right.
They just don't think it's a thing.
And you're right on the other side too, as far as finding like-minded people, where
Makes it easy.
They can just go on whatever message board, and it's a bunch of people just like them, and they can talk about their stupidity, and they feel like they're part of a group, because now it's a bunch of people that are knuckleheads just like them. What were you going to say, Rich?
I was just going to say that when they do come out of the house, I mean, maybe we got to drive them right back in there, and no, you stay the fuck going. We don't need you people. You're a bunch of fucking garbage scum. And you know what? You want to talk to the internet, go ahead. And I don't care much. But, remember, you still got to go to the supermarket. And, maybe I'll find you in a parking lot.
Yep.
I mean, maybe we got to behave the way the other side behaves,
Well, that's always been my thing. Like, people are like, oh, well, we shouldn't lower ourselves to their level. It's like, what do you think? You're going to have a conversation and they're suddenly going to be like, oh, you know what?
You're right.
I see your point of view. You're right. I'm not going to wear this swastika anymore.
Right, exactly.
I'm going to go talk to a black person. Like,
that's just not how things work. And people think that that's how things work, but no. The only way to get rid of cockroaches is step on them.
Right.
There you go.
And I've said that in other contexts too, because like you talk about all this stuff with the Middle East that goes on. It's like, these people that are like these extremists, and it's like, oh, well, we shouldn't reduce ourselves to their level. It's like, what, you're going to have a conversation with this guy and suddenly he's just going to stop hating Americans just like that?
Yeah, but I'm going to argue a point that the American hatred has to do with our occupation of their space.
Oh, yeah. No.
I get why.
That's a lot more complicated, but
that's like a way different situation.
It's just the idea of like, not even if you take the American out of the equation, it's like the whole idea of like Israel and Palestine. It's like, these people have hated each other for thousands of years. You're not going to suddenly change their mind.
I mean, you could take it right back to Mesopotamia if you really want to get into the historical context of it.
Yeah, and I've said it, I've said it when it comes to their views about women, which is starting to change a little bit. But it's just, you're not going to suddenly, some people you're just not going to be able to reason with. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to suddenly just have a conversation with them and change their mind.
Yeah, it just doesn't work that way.
Yeah, so.
Hey, how about you go try to talk to your drunk friend and tell him not to drive home? And most of the time, you're going to be in a war right there. And that's a very simple discussion to have, let alone having a discussion about, like, deep-seated views for many, many years. Like, you're trying to piss up a flagpole at that point.
Yep.
You're just going to get wet.
Absolutely. So, you guys have anything else to add?
No.
Good luck at school, Rich. That's what I got to add, dude.
Yeah.
Keep your fucking mask on. Do you need me to send you some fucking Lysol wipes and a fucking mask? Like, I got you.
We'll see. I don't think the DOE is going to be able to provide those things for us, so I might just.
Which is bullshit in and of itself.
Yeah, that's a thing in itself.
Sanitizer should be literally like just personal lubrication in that fucking school. You should be able to lather up as soon as you walk in the door.
They're saying that they're supposed to have that stuff, but I don't for a second think that they can make that happen. And it's, that's not me shit talking to anybody. I just think it's a very basic reality. I couldn't imagine how they could do that.
And how are they going to clean the rooms? Like, every day? Are they going to have, is there some, like, wild spray that they're going to put in there? Like, is, like, some weird Axe body thing with, like, chemicals in it? Like, what's going to happen?
I really don't know how they're going to get it cleaned. And this, again, I mean, no disrespect to anybody. So, like, please don't want anybody to ever think that. But, in a place where you struggle to empty garbage cans every single day, I don't really believe that you're going to be able to clean this place adequately, where all the kids, all the teachers, all the administrators, all the school-based staff is going to be safe. I just don't see how it's possible.
Seems daunting at the least.
Yeah.
Right. At very best, it's daunting. Absolutely.
Well, I hope that everything works out. We'll check in with you again for sure.
Yeah.
And see how things go as things progress, because I think just like the UNC thing that happened within a week, I think a lot of things are going to change very quickly once things actually start moving.
Yes.
And
I think so too.
I just hope that everybody's safe. You guys as teachers, the students, the families, everybody, like, it just seems like everybody's just, like I said, just trying to sacrifice everyone to the money gods, no matter what the cost, and it's just silly.
So, for 1 second, every time the school year starts, that's when everybody gets sick. That first 90 days is just a crapshoot and everybody's sick. Now add on COVID to that, because now you're bringing in all the germs from the summer that all these kids have been running around dragging all over the place, and you're mixing it all up in some petri dish that's called a classroom. And we expect teachers like yourself to keep us safe. Now, and I'm not saying that you're not going to do your best, but it's virtually impossible.
I would agree with you 150%. It's virtually impossible.
So, as I said, I wish you luck. I hope that you're fully healthy when we get through this, and I'm pulling for you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Do you want us to send you like a hazmat suit?
I can get you something going.
Billy Club sweatshirts. So those were nice.
Yo, just get him one of Martin's shirts. It's gotta be perfect at this point. Anything couldn't penetrate that at this point.
That is true. Oh God. Rich, thanks for coming on with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to talk about all this stuff, and like I said, we'll check in with you, and hopefully everything is good for you and for your family and for your coworkers.
Yeah, the same to all of you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah. Next time, the topic is universal monthly income. Is that it?
Oh God.
All right.
Don't even get me started.
Whole new can of worms. Well, it's not a priority for anybody else. So.
Oh my. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, Rich. Thanks again. Appreciate it. And that's it for us. I am Gary Muttley. He is Len Carmichael. The upgradepodcast.net is our website. Go there, find places to listen, and find our social media stuff on there as well. Thanks again, Rich. And that's it. We'll see you guys soon.
Peace.
Take care, guys.